so I lived in a gated subdivision. It isn't really the kind of place that has had many issues, far away from where I grew up. I've never been one to be shy away from my past. I did 13 years in federal prison for some crimes that I'm still trying to atone for. I know what's waiting for me on the other side, and I know where I'm heading, but I'm still trying to make things right in the world and leave something positive for both of my daughters. Lately, we have been the subject of some random acts of vandalism and threatening messages. One was a letter in our mailbox that said murderer. I committed no such atrocity. Nobody was murdered in any of my crimes. Given that we're just getting past the Halloween season, I assumed it was someone just trying to play a prank. No harm, no foul. My wife found a letter under her windshield wipers that had a similar message saying, "Don't let him fool you," which included my mugshot from many, many years ago. A mugshot that even I've had trouble finding, but managed to do so after some sufficient digging. Our garage was also spray painted. A lawn gnome was decapitated, and a series of plastic forks were left in my front yard. My daughters were scared, and that's absolutely where the line gets drawn for me. I know people like to say, "but cameras," and call the police. The ones responsible didn't consider that I work for a security company, specifically ones that hire ex-cons to save people from people like me. My house has cameras in places you would never think to look, and within a matter of minutes, I was able to find a shot of the person responsible. If you're wondering why I didn't do this in the first place, I did. He was just better at hiding his face the first few times, but like all criminals, he slipped up and got too competent. I can relate. I knew where to find him. I didn't call the cops. I went over there myself. I knew his parents. Yes, he was a teenager. I walked over there and told his parents what he did. They didn't believe me, so I happily showed them the printouts of my security footage that had him clear as day on there. I'll give them credit. They stood up for their son, but also acknowledged when he screwed up and called him over. Honestly, the look on his face when he saw me inside of his house was all the confirmation anyone needed. He became very nervous and started shaking. I'm not a monster. I assured him that I wasn't there to hurt anyone and that I wanted to have the matter resolved. He had vandalism, trespassing, damage to private property and mail tampering to answer for. I asked him why he did it. Basically, the answer I got was that his friends and him were trying to do some sort of true crime series for what I'm assuming is maybe a YouTube channel or something. His explanation wasn't very excessive. I gave him a choice. The police could be called, or he could pay for the damages he caused. His father asked if he paid for the damages, would I get rid of the footage that I have? I told him no. I assured him if the damages were paid for and we stayed away from my family, I wouldn't call the police. But if he didn't, or did it again, I would. They agreed. His father asked me again if I could reconsider, but I refused. This was his second chance. I'm being very merciful and forgiving those who trespassed against us. I don't know why people feel the need to destroy something that someone is trying to build. In my case, it's stability. We have to seriously start accepting that people are trying to change for the better. Stan, let's not meet, unless of course you're coming to clean your mess. The next one is called Professional Squatter Tries to Seduce My Boyfriend in Order to Invade My Home. This sounds crazy. My boyfriend and I live in a big party city, so we're pretty used to strange neighbours and odd people. But 1 month ago, we had a really unsettling encounter. We just got the full context today, subunit of a large house. Our landlord and one other person live in the other units of the house. We noticed that our landlord had brought a few different dates over to the house. We didn't mind, and we weren't surprised when a girl was walking around the property. Last month, we went to sleep at about midnight and woke up 30 minutes later to knocks at the door. I told my boyfriend not to open it, but he said it was the girl we saw earlier. I still felt very uneasy about the situation, so I put my clothes on, grabbed my keys, and picked up our dog in case I had to run out the back door. I then go stand in the hallway next to the front door so I can hear the conversation, but she can't see me. Get a little drink. She sounds very drunk, and she tells my boyfriend that she is my landlord's fiancée. I am somewhat confused by this because of her landlord's other dates. However, she starts talking about how we are good tenants and mentions personal details about us, so we assume that she is actually his fiancée. She asks my boyfriend for a lighter for a cigarette. We expect this to be the end of the interaction, but she then tells my boyfriend that our landlord is at a hotel cheating on her right now. My boyfriend's response with, "Oh wow." Then she started flirting with my boyfriend. She invited him to come swim in her landlord's pool with her, and he declined. I'm starting to get less scared and more annoyed at her. She is rambling about a bunch of different topics and basically holding my boyfriend hostage. Finally, she gets to her neighbours. She starts going on a racist rant about them using slurs I have literally never heard in real life because they are that bad. At this point, I'm pretty sick of this woman, so I step into the door frame and tell her that we have to wake up early. She was clearly shocked by me showing up. This is when her face changes. She glares at me. Suddenly, we aren't good tenants anymore. She calls us white trash for not taking out our garbage bins out in time, every trash day. She screams that she is going to get us evicted if we don't get on her good side. At this point, we close the door in her face. We had a really long discussion about whether or not we should complain to our landlord about her. We assumed that he was actually dating this girl and that she just happened to be crazy. She probably caught him cheating and was trying to sleep with my boyfriend for revenge, but realised that wasn't going to happen. Eventually, we decided to text him. He apologised for the situation but was very vague. He does mention that she is not his fiancée and that he will remove her. We assume that this is the end of it. For the last month, she's been blasting music, banging on the walls, taking things out of the shed, and coming into our section of the backyard in the middle of the night. I was absolutely terrified the first week and couldn't sleep at all. I would stay up all night listening to sounds and staring our back window to see if she was in our yard. Eventually, I got used to it. Our landlord had basically vanished. We haven't seen him for the entire month until today. Today my boyfriend is walking our dog when he sees our landlord back on his porch. Our landlord finally tells us the full story. He went on a few dates with this woman and she seemed totally normal. Eventually they go back up to his section of the house, and when he wakes up she's behaving much differently. He asks her to head out whilst he goes to work. He comes back and she's still there. It turns out that this is what she does. She goes home with men and invades their home until they get her lawfully evicted. My landlord went to a different property for a month whilst he worked on his case to get her evicted. We found out that she got served an eviction warning that same day that she came to our house. That's why she was flirting with my boyfriend in an attempt to squat in our home. That's why she was so angry when she found out that I lived there too. My landlord actually negotiated house a few days early. He bought her a one-way flight to another state. So if you live in the Midwest, watch out. She's coming north. I'm very thankful that it's over though. Let's not meet again, squatter girl. The next story is called Airbnb Owner Acted Weird. I left when I saw a chair with ropes in my bedroom. Oh gosh. Was watching a YouTube video where the YouTuber tells let's not meet stories of weird encounters with landlords or in hostels. Reminded me of this one thing that happened to me a few months ago. Disclaimer, this might not be as scary as other stories in this subreddit, but watching those videos made me paranoid, which is why I decided to leave that Airbnb rather than risk being the victim in a true crime story. As I said, this happened a few months ago, if I remember correctly, in January or February 2024. I was visiting family in southern France and did not want to stay at their place even if they offered, for personal reasons which I won't share here. Note that I visit them quite often and usually last minute, so I would never book the same place, and I would sometimes book a hotel room which was more expensive but better for me, as I don't necessarily want to socialise with the hosts. Even when I would book Airbnbs, I would always search flats or studio flats and not a room in a flat or house where other people live, as I want to be in my own, so this is an important criteria for me. So I book this Airbnb within walking distance to where my family members stay, and it looks very nice on paper. I think it was marketed as a house or ground floor flat with access to a yard and a garden. It was probably one of the cheaper options, I don't remember for sure, but I wasn't going there for leisure or planning to have a very nice place for myself to have enjoyable holidays, if that makes sense. So I really wanted something for convenience and wouldn't pay extra for any kind of luxury. There were not a lot of reviews, but the few ones were pretty positive. So I go to that place with my suitcase, waiting in front of the house. I contact the landlord, who should give me the keys, but he's late. I spent at least 1 hour waiting outside, and I'm trying to be patient, realising at least the neighbourhood is pretty nice and seems safe, even if I need to walk through areas that are slightly dodgy to get there from where my relatives live. The landlord finally arrives. He seems like a good man and apologises profusely, saying he was in another town visiting his cousins or friends, and time flew by. First red flag, he says they were drinking and didn't have time to sober up, so he has to speed on the highway on his motorbike while being tipsy or drunk. He stops and asks me half-jokingly not to say that in my review. I get a bit serious and tell him he shouldn't drink and drive, but he says he really didn't want me to wait any further. I tell him I won't flag that in my review, spoiler alert, I will, but didn't want to start off on the wrong foot. The guy is nice otherwise and seems trustworthy, very chatty and open to socialising. And frankly, I was just happy I could finally get in and drop my stuff. Second red flag is when he tells me I will be living in a small flat adjacent to the bigger house that he lives in. But I shouldn't worry because I would have my own place, own bathroom, own kitchen, etc. I don't like that too much, but I actually think it might be good because I'm not super comfortable being on my own in a ground floor accommodation, knowing anyone can get into the yard and access the front door. So knowing that someone I know is close by in case something happens gives me a sense of safety. God, was I wrong. He shows me around. All seems okay. It's pretty old, but as I said, I wasn't looking for a luxury stay. The part where I would stay is on a lower level than street level, not exactly like a basement because there is access to a garden, but I need to walk down a set of stairs outside and get into the flat through the backyard. This shows mostly when I'm in the bedroom, as I see through the windows that this door stays closed and it's locked away, not as a warning for me to try and open it, but more like you'll notice there is this door, it's useless for you, and what's beyond it is not part of what you're renting. We chat a little bit, too long for my taste because I was tired, and also still annoyed at his lateness, and not in the mood to socialise. He gives me his phone number because Airbnb chat feature is not good, and it's easier to use WhatsApp, and then he leaves. I start to settle down, open my suitcase, and get changed before leaving to visit the family. I then go back to the place in the evening and decide to have a shower. If I remember correctly, what I'm saying next happened before I took a shower because I remember locking the bathroom door, which I never do when I know I'm on my own, and I recall being quite anxious when taking the shower. So biggest red flag before the last drop. I'm sitting on the bed and hear a knock and someone saying my name. 2 seconds later, before I get the chance to answer or even understand where the noise is coming from, I hear keys turning in a lock and a door opening. As you might have guessed, it's the connecting door next to the bedroom. The guy enters and says he can't find his phone, and if he might have left it downstairs. I'm a bit shocked because probably if he'd come 10 minutes later, I would have probably been naked, ready to take a shower, or maybe walking around in a towel since I'm supposedly alone. I know it might sound like I'm being a scaredy cat, but keep in mind I'm a relatively young woman alone in a house with a man in his 40s or 50s who has control over when he can get into my place at any time. I stay polite and try to tell him that no, I haven't seen his phone. I would have noticed there's literally nothing except my open suitcase on a couch in the bedroom. He still gets in, speaking a lot and very fast whilst I'm sitting there, not fully realising what's happening and not having a chance to tell him to leave. He looks around the flat and obviously doesn't find the phone. Then he says sorry and probably asks if everything is fine, if I had dinner or something like that, and then leaves again. At that point, I'm really wondering if I should stay or not, since I know you get refunded only if you cancel 2 nights in advance. I just thought I would lose the money for the night that has started, and the following one, knowing that I had booked it for at least 4 nights. I really needed to take a shower, but questioning if I should. I try to see if there are available hotel rooms, but it's already too late to book, or already fully booked. I decide to take my shower real quick, wondering if I could hear the shower and decide that he forgot something else to get in again. Nothing bad happens. I then go back to the bedroom and get dressed as fast as I can, just in case. Sit down and think. I decide that I will just stay for the night, and I'll probably be less paranoid in the morning if I'm still alive. That's when I notice the chairs in the bedroom. There are 2, and one of them has ropes tied around the armrests. The chairs are in good shape, and the rope is definitely not there to keep the armrests fixed to the chair, as they are just loose. To this day, I have no idea why they were like that. I still think I should sleep there just for the night and try to use a chair to block the door handle in the bedroom like in the movies. But guys, this only works in the movies. I try with both chairs, trying to pile them up, even trying to use the ropes one way or another. The handle can still go down enough to open the door easily. I think that at least if I leave them in front of the door, I'll hear if someone tries to open it, but the door opens the other way, and in any case, I didn't know what to do, even if the noise woke me up. Again, I'm paranoid and anxious, but living alone abroad, my motto is never ever take risks for my own safety, as I'm usually the only one who can save myself, so better avoid any tricky situation. Doesn't mean I never go out, but I wouldn't get drunk around people I don't trust, and I would take a cab if I felt unsafe going home on my own after midnight. I now live in a city that's rather safe, but had too many bad encounters. Unfortunately, nothing unusual for most women not to be careful. So from an external point of view, there is a story about someone booking an Airbnb with good reviews, with a nice and friendly landlord who is just overly open because he likes to meet people, and the ropes are just a detail. But for my anxious and paranoid self, it's the premise for a horror story or thriller where you shout at the stupid and trusting victim to get away as soon as possible before the guy comes back. So I decide to call my brother, who came to pick me up around midnight for me to spend the rest of my stay at his place. The comments under this one are quite funny. Not funny, but a lot of people have a lot of things to say about this one because it's creepy. The next one is called Bad Movie Theatre Experience. Today, my best friend and I, both 18 and female, went to see the new Alien Romulus movie, and while the film was as thrilling and terrifying as we had hoped, something else overshadowed our experience. A man who sat directly behind us. We first noticed him as we approached the theatre. He stood out immediately, dressed in an old-fashioned brown suit with a blue dress shirt. I'm not exactly a fashion expert, but his outfit was unusual. Certainly not red carpet fancy, but fancy enough to where it makes people dressed in a baggy t-shirt and jeans look bad in comparison. As we got closer, he turned his head and stared at us, making no effort to hide it, and kept staring until we entered the building. It set off alarm bells in both of us. Inside, while my friend ordered a mini pizza at the concession stand, she noticed that the man had come in, got behind us, and continued to stare. I was too distracted by movie posters to notice at the time, but she made direct eye contact with him. We got our food, we headed to the ticket booth. The process was manual, and while we were figuring out which theatre house was ours, I noticed that the man was again behind us, just watching. It struck me as odd, especially since he got his popcorn before we even got our pizza, but my mind didn't want to assume the worst. We eventually found our seats in the theatre that wasn't very crowded. Only a few couples were sitting higher up, while we chose seats near the railing. Despite plenty of rows, the man chose to sit directly behind us. At first I tried to brush it off, thinking maybe he didn't want to sit alone and wanted to feel young again by being near some young ladies who had exaggerated reactions to jump scares, which we did. The man kept getting up and leaving the theatre, sometimes for short periods, other times for longer. I could hear him grunting or sipping his drink, though I never heard him eat his popcorn, thankfully, because I hate chewing noises. Occasionally it felt like he was staring at us when he returned, and once, when I turned my head slightly, it seemed like he was. As the movie neared its end, my anxiety peaked and I couldn't handle it. My heart was already racing from the suspense on screen and the growing paranoia. I decided I wanted to leave, and it seemed my friend felt the same way, as she immediately got up when I did. We were the first people out of the entire theatre to make a move to leave. Me and my friend noticed that at the very moment we stood up to leave, the man did as well. As we made our way down the stairs opposite to the one he took, we noticed the man standing by his stairwell, just staring at us. He could have left before us, but he waited. When we passed him, he followed after us. As we passed down the hallway leading to the exit, I tried to play it cool, making casual comments about the movie to avoid looking alarmed. My friend was too freaked out to respond, but I kept talking until we reached a corner where she suddenly bolted for the front doors. I followed, walking quickly, pretending to be on the phone and our car, both of us shaking with fear. We decided to go to a nearby store instead of heading home right away. As we pulled off into the road, I looked back and saw a truck moving about the area we were in at the parking lot. My mind convinced itself that that was the guy, but I had no proof to go off of. While we were waiting at the stores, we discussed what had happened, both of us admitting to feeling a bad gut feeling. My friend had muscle tension in her shoulders, whilst I felt nauseous and endured a painful stomach cramp. After some time, we returned to the theatre parking lot. There were more cars and people around by then. She dropped me off at my car and we agreed to meet at a nearby Walmart just in case. As I pulled out of my parking space, I noticed a truck of similar colour to the one I had seen earlier behind my car. My heart dropped and I called my friend in a panic. The truck made an abrupt turn to get into the same lane as me, or so it seemed, but fortunately there were enough cars at a stop sign to slow it down. We made several turns to lose the truck before arriving at Walmart. I want to clarify that we weren't sure if the truck was behind us or not. We just assumed the worst and did what we felt necessary in a scenario that we were being followed. When we finished shopping, our anxiety had extinguished itself and we both got home safely. Reflecting on it now, I feel a mix of embarrassment and sadness. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe the man just liked those seats or was trying to be polite by letting us go first. Perhaps he had a bladder problem, which explained his frequent trips out of the theatre. Or maybe my paranoia made me imagine that the truck was his. I don't know, and I feel a bit ashamed for assuming the worst. My friend and I love movies, and to run out of our favourite theatre felt humiliating, especially if the man meant no harm. Was I overreacting, or was I right to trust my instincts? The whole situation feels weird and creepy, made worse by watching a horror movie. The movie was fantastic though, just maybe not the best idea to watch it when your mind is already on high alert. The last story I'll read is called Terrifying Encounter at a Wedding. I went to a wedding of my friend Courtney about 2 days ago and I still can't shake my mind over what happened. For context, I grew up in a very religious household and went to a church every Sunday, and Courtney is probably the only person from my old church that I still keep in contact with. The situation started at the reception. Courtney was super excited to see me and was definitely the only person who felt that way, judging from all the stares from the people at my old church. I sat down at my table and started playing something on my phone when some guy sat next to me. He said that the seating chart said that he was supposed to sit at my table and introduced himself as the groom's friend, Anthony. He was pretty cute, so I spent a lot of time talking to him and we really hit it off. He didn't seem to judge me for being an atheist and seemed genuinely interested in me. When the dance started, they started playing Brown Eyed Girl and he offered to dance with me. We danced together for most of the night until I left to go to the bathroom, and a little later I did too. When I came out, I saw that my purse wasn't on the table, which was weird because I swore I left it on there. I was tired and thought I had just left it in my car, so I went to the parking lot and into my car to look for it and found it on the centre console. I still thought it was weird because I really thought I had brought it inside, but at that point it was pretty late in the night, so I didn't think much of it. I danced some more and noticed that Anthony was gone. I asked the groom, who said he had gone home because he wasn't feeling too good. Pretty soon I felt pretty sick too, so I said bye to Courtney and went to my car. As I put my keys in the ignition, I looked behind me and saw something weird. It looked like something ducked down from the trunk. I took my keys out and looked back there, and then I saw it was him. Anthony was crouched seen. Courtney's husband said that he didn't see his car anywhere, so he probably left. I left, and I still feel sick to my stomach thinking about it. He could have easily gone home with me and killed me if I hadn't looked back. Courtney says that she feels terrible that she invited him, and said that she had no idea he would do that. I haven't stepped out of my house since, because I'm worried that if I do, he'll be waiting for me, like he was before. There's also a little update that she's put in. The last couple days have been kind of crazy, so I haven't had the chance to look, but thank you for all of your advice that I wish I'd known about earlier. Unfortunately, my address was on my ID, and as I learn now, Anthony took photos of it. Anthony and the groom aren't exactly friends, but they know each other well enough for him to be invited. After the whole fiasco, the groom tried to text Anthony about it, but got no response. Anthony showed up at my job and lurking around the parking lot before he ran off when he saw security. He left me a note on my windshield that just says, "I'm watching. Security at my job has been notified about him, so hopefully I'm safe there. I was told by other people that went to the wedding that he was introducing himself as my boyfriend, and that he was planning on proposing. I'm currently trying to file a restraining order against him and feel horrified. He lives in my city and knows where I live, so I'm staying at my aunt's house as I speak. If anything happens, I will update again." That's horrific. That is horrific. Oh, Anthony, you are a creep. Well, thank you. That was really spooky. Thank you for joining me here again today for Let's Not Meet Reddit Stories. I love these, and shout out to Sarah again for the recommendations. It was amazing. I'll continue to do these out with Creepy Story Saturday because I feel like they deserve their own feature, their own videos, rather than just being under the Creepy Story Saturday umbrella. So I'll continue to do these regularly. If there's any other Reddit threads that you guys know of that contain good stories that you want me to read, or that regularly have nice creepy stories for us, let me know, because just like this one, it's been a great addition and I am really keen